Miami. Welcome to episode 13 of Standpoint. I'm Gabe Groisman. I am honored to have with me today Sacha Roytman. He's the CEO of the Combat Antisemitism Movement. Sacha is in town for an incredible anti-Semitism conference in South Florida with speakers coming from all over the world. Sacha flew in from Tel Aviv, so I invited him on the podcast to talk about the explosion of anti-Semitism in this country. It's affecting everybody in this country, not just Jews. We're seeing it on college campuses with the calls for genocide, for the mass murder of Jews on college campuses left and right. We're seeing it in New York City. We're seeing it in California. There is not one university in this country where you're not seeing it at least a little bit. And in most of the Ivy Leagues universities is where you're seeing it explode at levels that are really unbearable. I spend a lot of time speaking to college students and helping them navigate how to deal with this on a personal level, on a legal level. But really, we're seeing it also on the streets. We're seeing all these protests against Israel. And if you just listen, take a minute and listen to what they're saying, it's not these nuanced arguments that people are trying to push on the internet or in the news. It's actual just calls of pure anti-Semitism, hatred towards the Jews. And we know what starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. We heard Brigitte Gabriel say a couple weeks ago on the podcast that first they come for the Saturday people and then they come for the Sunday people. So really we have to pay attention, all of us Jews and non-Jews alike, all Americans in particular, to this, because we know that anti-Semitism is the canary in the coal mine. If there's a rise of anti-Semitism, it's a sign of a rot in a society, and it's a rot that we have to deal with. So because of that, I invited Sacha to come here and to explore a little bit what's happening in anti-Semitism around the world. Sacha, thanks for coming on.
Thanks you, Gabe. You just made a mistake. I came for the podcast, not for the conference. So.
Oh, there you go.
No, I heard there was a great podcast in town, so I need to see you.
There you go. For all the listeners, we've made it because now people are flying in for the podcast. So
I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. So let's just start. If you can help us understand, a little bit about what you all do at Combat Antisemitism Movement, and that way we can frame a little bit this discussion.
Yeah. So we started 5 years ago when there was a sentiment that something doesn't work. Like, wow, it's growing. Not October 7. It didn't start there. It started like 20 years ago. And the major institution didn't build a proper solution. They were fighting among each other. They were playing ego games. And we had a big group came to us and say, let's do something different. And they asked me, can we do it? I said, of course we can do it. We can do everything if we put the ego on the side and we go for building coalitions and we have one goal. By the way, the goal is our name, Combat Antisemitism Movement. We combat anti-Semitism as a movement. So our name is not lying. What we do, we build coalitions with Jews, non-Jews, decision makers, organizations, everyone that is ready to do something, small or big, we're working with them. We have a big focus on municipal leaders and your former mayors who have been working with you a lot to equip every city in the United States and around the world with the tools they need to fight anti-Semitism. We work with state legislators in some states that no one is working. We're helping attorneys general to build the proper tools, legal tools to protect the Jewish communities. We bring people to Israel, non-Jews. Recently, we had a beautiful delegation of American Muslim leaders from this country to Israel. They came back and they're speaking about experience to other Muslims. And this month, during the month of Ramadan, they're hosting a lot of iftar events, telling the story, and they go event by event, and the fact they can experience anti-Semitism from inside the Israeli society, because this is where it started on October 7. And to stop those that are screaming from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, it's a big achievement. Yeah. So we combine policy work with grassroots orientation, working with anyone that wants to do things. And we really believe there is a place for everyone to do something. So the last thing I will say, we build coalitions related to business leaders, artists, fashion designers. Everyone can contribute in their own way. So we hear a lot what we can do. I said, just what you work in your life, and let's combine that to the work that we do. So we allow everyone to work with us.
That's amazing. So you find what people are doing specifically, and those are the tools that they have, and you find a way for them to use their tools to fight anti-Semitism and the explosion of that. I mean, from October 7th till January 1st, the increase in anti-Semitism of reported anti-Semitic acts in the United States, almost 337%. And the anti-Semitism had already been double the year over year. And just so people have some context of it, and I know you know this, but the FBI puts out a report for hate crimes every year. And while the Jewish community is 2.4% of the American population,
60%.
It's 55% of religious-based hate crimes are against Jews as of last year. This year, we know it's going to be much higher, unfortunately. But also, it's almost 10% of all hate crimes against anybody, religious or not religious groups. It could be racial, sexual orientation, etc. Of the reported ones are against Jews. So, it's a tough conversation, I have to tell you, for me to talk about, because I hate. I don't think that the Jewish community should take the position of being victims. We're no one's victims. We have been victims of and continue to be victims of anti-Semitic acts like October 7th, and also smaller ones on a daily basis. But those attacks don't define us, right? So if you think about after the Holocaust, the Jewish community globally didn't play the victim card. They played the we're going to build our own state and we're going to take care of ourselves card. We're not going to rely on anybody else.
That's what we need to do today.
Yes. But let's talk about the coalitions a little bit, which I think is the most interesting
part. I like
part.
what you say before we go to the coalition. I think that one of the best way to fight anti-Semitism in everything is be proud of who we are and to continue. So if every Jew on the world will start fighting anti-Semitism, it will not work. We need every Jew to add to what they do, what they build, the fight against anti-Semitism. So continue to be who you are, what you are, but be engaged as well. So it's not changing your life, and we don't want anyone to change, but we want to add to every person an added value.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. And also, I find something that is interesting. I don't know if you see the same thing, is that you work a lot in coalitions. You work with the Black community in the United States, with doing jazz programs, the Muslim community, lots of different communities. We could touch on all of them. When I do similar things, and when I do that, what I find is what people respect the most is strong people who are determined in what they're doing, right? In the sense of, if you're strong in your identity and you know who you are, even if they don't agree with you, even if they're like, they have an issue with this or with that issue, it doesn't so quickly turn into, it doesn't lend itself to anti-Semitism in a way. Whereas when people take a weaker approach and they really don't understand who they are, for example, for the Jewish community, don't really know what it means to be Jewish, don't understand even what.
This is what we really see. We see really that the fact that we're coming strong with our culture, and we put our culture in the front of everything, our history, and we're able to speak with others. And when we also work with others, that we respect them. But we work with the strong guys, those that really respect their own values. And then we speak about values, about exchange, historical exchange. It works very well. The work that we do with the Afro-American community in the United States is incredible, because we respect the values of the cultural values that the African-American has brought to the United States. That they've built a jazz music, for example, work in the jazz music. And they build a jazz music that is internationally recognized. In American music, you should be proud as American of the jazz music. And we want African-American to be proud of their contribution, but also with Jews, that they contribute to the United States. So if we can really bring the American perspective in front of everything, be proud American, what each one contribute to this country. It's the largest country in the world. It's like the most impactful country in the world. So we want the Americans to be proud of who they are, what they do. And this cultural exchange is everything. I think this is the beauty of United States. When I'm coming here from Israel, I grew up in Belgium. You don't have that. Everyone lives divided. It's totally a mess. No one has succeeded to build a European culture. Here you have an American culture. But sometimes you see these days that it's going to fall apart. And we see really that people are trying to destroy the American culture. And we need to be proud of it. We need to bring back everyone that built this fantastic country. And each time I'm coming here, I'm in love. But I see that internally, things are going very bad.
Yeah, the same pride that we're talking about that the Jewish community needs to have, the American community at large needs to push that, right? Patriotism, love for our country, and the same voices that we're hearing speaking against Israel, against the Jewish community, are also speaking against the country, the United States of America as well, charging the United States of America for being a colonial power, a capitalist, which we are, but we should be proud to be capitalists, because socialism only brings equal misery.
The United States the soft power of the United States was based on what? On the university system. This is why people around the world were looking at the United States as the largest powerhouse of education. It's beautiful to have that in a country, and today it's falling apart.
Right. Well, part of the reasons it's falling apart, and is because it's because we have foreign influence and foreign powers that are funding by in the tune of billions of dollars
from inside.
Yes, and they're destroying American culture from inside, from the university systems, and there's a big pushback. I have a daughter, who's going to college next year, and in her school. She's in 11th grade, so one more year. But in her school, all they're talking about is whether it's worth going to college these days or whether you should just go to work. And if it is, which school you're going to go to. And it's not just about the anti-Semitism. It's about the wokeism and the indoctrinations or attempted indoctrination by professors. And it's not just in Middle East studies departments. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And I hope there's going to be a pushback. There has been. The question is if the pushback and the backlash is enough.
It's not yet enough. I would just say what we have seen since October 7. There is a realization, a moment that people understand that the universities have stopped playing the game of education. They start playing a game of the DI system to try to build an equal society. Everything is fine. You want to have an equal society, you start outside of university. You educate the guys so they come ready to the university to be accepted based on excellence. And the United States was known globally for this excellence system because they built the brains of the world. The United States in the modern century has fought across Europe, has liberated Europe twice from the Nazis, has built technologies that saved the world for many, many cases. And today, when we look from outside of the United States, it doesn't look that they will be capable to play their role as the leaders of the world. And we're very sad about it because we believe in American society. So if you ask me, it's really a moment that everyone needs to stand up and say, what do we want the United States to be? And if you decide to be the largest power in the universe, that build democracy, respect everyone, you need to be proud of being Americans from the history until today and not change it.
Yeah, well, I can say I am bullish, 100% bullish on America, and I think that I'm confident that these forces that are within our society are going to disappear. They're gonna flutter out because the American dream, the American story, the American experiment is a successful experiment, and it's an ongoing. It's a pursuit of happiness. It's a pursuit of this dream. It's not always meant to be perfect. Things change in society. We always have had forces. People forget we've always had forces on the left. We've always had forces on the extreme right. We've always had foreign influence. We've always had different issues, but our government is set up in a way through the Electoral College, through state and local government, through federal government, the whole concept of federalism, which allows our country to succeed, to have these national discussions. If you zoom out a little bit, that's really what's happening in this country. Anti-Semitism is part of it, but so is anti-Americanism, and so is whether or not we should be isolationists or how we should have foreign policy discussion. We should be more involved in foreign policy or not. These are national discussions that are happening, but at the end of the day, I'm bullish on America and I'm bullish on Israel. I know both countries are going to continue to succeed and flourish, and it goes hand in hand because they stand. When people talk about this, there's something there in the sense that they stand for the same values. They're pursuing similar dreams.
They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. We have Iran, Russia, China in front of us, billions of others that are controlled by evil forces. So if United States is not able to present the counter values of that, they will control the world. So it's a big clash of civilization that people don't like to speak about that, but this is what is happening these days. October 7 was another example, because what happened in the small Middle East is small. Then you had the pressure of Iran on it, Iranian support by the Russian, by Chinese, and then across the world we have demonstrations supporting Hamas. If this is not a clash of civilization coming from the Middle East, it's not there. Across the world, so I don't know what it is. But I would like to bring us back to another subject, maybe, to the media and the role of the media they play. And we speak about college campuses, kids and everything, but where they get everything from? Social media, of course. The media that build a culture, I call it always the MTV culture of entertainment, that you stop reading.
But no one under 25 knows what MTV is, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I grew up. It was amazing at the beginning, like to have these clips on TV. So I was very happy to see that, but I continued to read books. And I didn't compromise on my culture and my identity because the media was dictating to me something else. So I think the media has a big role also to wake up and to say, what do we have built in our society, not just in America, across the world? What do we have built that is wrong? What we want our kids to be in the next future? Want them to be all dancers, like we have a country of dancers? Nothing like we don't manage the country with dancers, neither with social media activists. We need a country of educated young generations that will not be on TV and will not look for entertainment all day long, because when you have someone lobotomized, maybe I exaggerate with the word, by entertainment all day, that is the ultimate goal of your society, you cannot advance causes. And we need people to disconnect from entertainment a little bit. And what I love, what I see here, I've seen in South Florida, is a combination between materialism and spirituality. When I go to the synagogue of Palm Beach and I saw this wonderful summit, I saw people very engaged, a very rich community, proud Americans, spiritual community, Jewish community that wants to be engaged. And they combine the achievement of the United States with the religion and the proudness. And I think we need to bring back that to the table for every community in this country.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't say it better myself. I probably wouldn't call it lobotomized, but I get the point. And what's interesting, just on that, to close on that, is that in China, if you look at how China controls TikTok for their own people, they don't allow their people to see the same kind of things we see. They don't allow the algorithm to apply in the same way that they control it, the CCP controls, to their own people, because they do want their students to continue to study and to continue to push forward in math and engineering, and then to take over the world. There's a book called The 100-Year Plan, or The 100-Year Marathon, about China's plan to take over the world.
And taking long term, we're taking short term.
Yes.
And we need to start thinking long term, what we want to be as a society in 200 years from now.
Yeah. So tell me about some of the initiatives you guys are doing, reaching out to other communities to try to build build
maybe
bridges.
One thing about the TikTok thing, because it's a big thing in the American political discussion. So I spoke with Montana Tucker recently, and she's a dancer, she's an activist as well, and she told me each time I'm putting on Twitter a dancing video that I'm doing, millions of views. Each time I'm speaking out about a subject related to Israel, to anti-Semitism, almost 0 views. So if it's not manipulated, I don't know what it is. So when we speak about this TikTok thing, there is a real
it's absolutely manipulated. It's manipulated by social media companies here. It's manipulated by social media companies abroad, and that we see what they want us to see, and we hear what they want us to hear, and they're able to manipulate the way people think. And this, a few years ago, was considered a conspiracy theory. Today, it's proven.
It's proven.
And there's no question that you start thinking about the goals of these, especially when you're talking about a foreign country. What are their goals? What are they trying to sow in our society? And it's definitely not success, right? They're trying to sow discord. And Marco Rubio, the senator, was on last week, and we were talking a lot about TikTok, because we have a bill here on the floor in the federal government to try to ban the algorithm that's being used, because it's controlled by the Chinese government. But let's talk a little bit about all the things you're doing, but really more not within the Jewish community, but outside the Jewish community. And what are you finding?
So first, we find that we are not alone. A lot of time people feel that Jews are alone. We have allies everywhere. I come back here from in Florida, and I find we have municipal leaders with posters of hostages everywhere. They speak in God, Israeli flags, and you don't see that in Europe. I travel to Europe, I see like no one is speaking. So first, it's really heartwarming for me to come to the United States and to see community that is engaged with their allies, which is the biggest allies of the United States is Israel. So I feel very, very well when I'm coming here. We work a lot with the Catholic evangelical communities and also the Afro-American community. With each one of them, we have unique programming. With the Catholic community working with the Vatican to establish a system of education from the Vatican to churches across the world on how each church can engage with the local synagogue, what they can work on, how they can exchange best program and best practices and build strong friendship. And one of the things we found, both synagogue and churches have a hard time to bring the young people together. So what we do, we want the Vatican to bring together Christian leaders and Jewish leaders to speak about how they engage with the young audience and to bring back the Judeo-Christian values that build our world together using the power of faith also. So that's one thing that we do.
Wow.
With Afro-American, we have a council of Jewish and Afro-American leaders. If someone is interested, we invite them to join us to discuss about what bring us together and not divide us. So we find jazz music, also dance. So we're working with Montana Tucker or building a very interesting work on it's funny when we do some funny things as well. It's not just very, very seriously.
By the way, for people who think that Jews can't dance, Montana Tucker, Jewish girl, and she's the most famous TikTok dancer in the world, I think. So
yes, but we want to build with a coalition of dancers, black dancer and a Jewish dancer together, to show that we can dance together and we have a common culture and common things. So we try to use the world of dance, the world of artists, work with artists around the globe to do mural art. I'm here in Miami. I just saw like art street everywhere, but we do art street everywhere in the world when we have a city that is interested to work with us. So we use public space. We bring local artists to paint the story of the Jews of the city. We celebrate the Jewish American Heritage Month across the United States with governors, state legislators, and municipal leaders to bring the positive impact of Jews. Some will say, hey, let's discuss about Jewish food. I say, no, we're going to speak about Italian food, the Jewish food we put on the side.
If you want Jewish food, there's a chef who's a friend named Mike Salmanov. He's one of the best chefs in the country. He's an Israeli-American chef in Philadelphia. He's got a great restaurant. Shout out to Zahav and Goldie's, the best falafel in the country. There's lines around the corner there.
And you have good Israeli food coming around the world. Even to present Israel, we have a project called the Israel Wine Collection. When present the history of Israel. with wine, which is very interesting. So in a few words, the Israeli wine history started 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. Israel, and I don't know if you know that, was the largest producer of wine in their history. And when the Muslims take over Israel in the ancient time, they transform the grapes to olives. This is where olives came in Israel. So, and then when Israel with Rothschild plant again grapes, so in the 90s we had 40 wineries. Today we have 400 wineries. So it's a combination of startup nation and the history of Israel.
And by the way, the part that you glossed over that people don't
Yes.
maybe not everybody realizes.
Yeah, when it's very fast.
This was the land of Israel, the land of the Jewish people, the land thousands of years before Islam even was established as a country, as a religion, and before Muhammad was even born. And then there was the Muslim conquest, etc. times. But yes, of course, I know about the wine.
We explain Israel with the wine because this is our history. We've been there before. So when someone comes to us, say, guys, you haven't been there, it's not your country. Say, this is our history, even with wine.
If you look at the wine from Psagot, which is my family's winery,
good wine.
And the bottle of every Psagot bottle, there's a coin or a replica of a coin on the front that's stuck on it. And that is a coin that was found in the cave where they first put the barrels of wine for Psagot. And they found the reason why they knew that would be a good cave to age the wine was because they found these coins in there with pictures of barrels of wine, of urns of wine, with inscriptions in Hebrew from the time of the first Jewish temple. So, that's the history. The history there is big. But one thing that I think you're doing that's interesting, that it may be subconscious or maybe you're just not saying it explicitly, but I think it's worth saying explicitly, is like you and I and many people watching and listening are very into politics and history and religion and all these things. The majority of people in the world just want to, let's talk about America. The majority of people in America just want to live their lives.
Yes.
And they indulge a little bit in politics or in political season. And then the rest of the time, they're just working, taking care of their families, living literally the American dream. So if you're focused only on governors and mayors and all these political issues, you're missing out the majority of our society here. So by dealing with the thing that people deal with the most, which is culture, which is food and music and dance and art, and trying to build bridges there and help bridge understanding. Because remember, the first thing with anti-Semitism, it's ignorance, right?
Ignorance.
You don't know anybody.
Education, ignorance.
Yeah.
So we find also, the work with the legislator has to be done. We have to deal with that. We have to protect legislatively the Jewish identity, the Jewish culture, but that's not going to help. That's a shield that we need to have. The real work is in education and cultural exchange. So we're focusing a lot on that, on building interfaith relations with the Muslim community in America to make sure that if they are here, they know where the Jewish people. And we're going to need to know where the Muslim of America, and together we can be proud Americans. So by having this exchange is working very well. We do that with Muslim Americans. We celebrate this month with Ramadan. I think we do 10 events of interfaith iftar event, but then usually we only do the iftar event. This year we're requesting to do interfaith Passover event. So inviting to the Passover tables a lot of non-Jews. Come, just listen to us. Appreciate the Jewish values of the family, of our history. So we're really bringing them together using the culture. The food is a complicated topic because not a lot love the Ashkenazi food, but we have other modern Jewish form of food. We work with the jazz music, as we said, dancing, art, and business leaders as well, that they want to build business coalitions that believe that business is a good thing, the values of building countries. So by the fact that we can bring them together, having changes, so that's working very well for us. We don't yet able to calculate what change we did in the mind of people. We see more and more interest of faith leaders and cultural leaders. They say, okay, it's done, like we need to work together and to build events, activities. Recently, we did a very meaningful program for International Holocaust Remembrance Day with jazz musician, African-American jazz musician, that they came and they play music to honor the Holocaust. So why they did that? And the reason was beautiful is because when the Nazis were in power, the first thing they did is to ban jazz. Why? Because they were impure music, because Jews and Afro-Americans were playing it together. So when we heard that, we said, this is what we need to use. We need to tell a story of hate crimes around the world and the history of hate that can be fixed by music, by playing sport together. We're working right now a lot in the world of sport when we see that we have big exchange. And it's working well because people feel that we go where they are and we don't bring them where we are. So when we can do the outreach in a proactive way, people are receptive and then they want to work with us.
So as a young Jewish kid, I loved jazz music. Had a poster of Miles Davis kind of blew on my wall for many years.
You know that Louis Armstrong was wearing a Star of David.
Yeah, he wore a Star of David. He was, I think it was a Jewish family that took care of him. But so I was able to play jazz guitar. Also, I went to jazz workshops in California. I did try to play basketball, but when we got to the level to that level of let's say with other groups, I couldn't hang. But we did what we can. So, anyway, is there anything else you want to share before we wrap?
Yeah, I think that the experience as an Israeli coming here in America and really saying really thank you to America for what they do for Israel, for the Jewish people, is not perfect, and we need to fight. We need to be united. But we see when I'm coming here, I see the energy. And we need more, and we need to do the outreach. I would just say that I've been speaking about that a lot, about my kids. Ari, 4 years old, Daniela, 2 years old. And then a post-trauma situation that is very hard to understand. People don't speak about that. Since October 7 till January, we had rocket alerts every day, a few times a day. Now, every sound they hear in the streets, they don't know what it is. They don't know if it's a rocket alert. They don't know how to react. And us as parents, as educators, we need to decide how we explain the situation. And we have 2 ways, not 3 ways. How we explain that the enemies will destroy them, and then we kind of build a delegitimization system that we're going to have more hatred, or we try to protect them from hatred and to make them understand the situation differently. So it's a very hard challenge for parents to see the hatred around the world and to see how we educate our kids. And I always think what the other side is telling to their kids when they hear a bomb. And I'm pretty sure they don't do it the way that I do. So education is everything. And it's important to look at the other side, what they do, because we cannot accept that in the world. And I probably assume everyone will understand how Hamas parents, they will tell to their kids. And they will not tell what I'm telling them. Because we're going to protect them. And if they don't change, nothing will happen in the world. And this is why today we have slogans on the street, from the river to the sea, Palestinians will be free. These are my kids. And I take it very personally when I hear slogans like that in the United States and in Europe, because my kids live between the river and the sea. And they're targeting my kids on American college campuses. And that should be stopped.
Yeah, people don't understand when they're saying from the river to the sea, by the way, so people that are listening know, on the east side of Israel is the Jordan River. On the west side of Israel is the Mediterranean Sea. And when they say from the river to the sea, they're saying all of Israel should be free. And free of what? It should be free of Jews. And they're trying to drive.
My kids are between the river and the sea.
Correct. All of Israel, all of Israel is between the river and the sea. So listen, thank you for everything you're saying. We in the U.S., we're all fighting this. As much as we can. We have our own political fights here going on every single day to try to keep the issue of Israel, the issue of freedom, the issue of democracy in the fore. We're seeing it in Latin America. We're seeing it in Europe, in Asia, everywhere in this country, in this world right now. This is an issue, and Israel is at the center of it. But alongside Israel is the United States. And here in the United States, despite what we see in the news, the polling just came out last week. The vast majority, it's over 80% of Americans support Israel. And those are numbers that are important to see. And yes, South Florida is a little bit of a microcosm. South Florida is a little bit of a bubble where we are here. It's almost this this incredible place full of different people where there's a lot less of the extremism that we see around the country. And we even the rallies, the anti-US, anti-Israel rallies, it's 12 to 20 bozos that nobody pays attention to. The worst we happen is a little fist fight here and there, which is nothing compared to what's happening around the country. But we are going to export that. That is what's growing in this country. We have big elections in November, and hopefully that will also help change things in the right direction for us. So Sacha, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this interesting discussion with Sacha Roytman from Tel Aviv. His family is at home under rocket fire, like he said, daily rocket alerts. He's here building coalitions with the African American community, with the Muslim community, with the American community at large to help combat anti-Semitism with his organization, CAM, the Combat Antisemitism Movement. Look them up. They're doing great work, and they're always looking for partners to figure out how to expand their important work. So thanks so much. Like, follow, share, do all the great things you do to support podcasts like this one, and we'll see you next week.